So, Damiani, do you want us to just keep going through the list, or what are you
So
thinking right now?
I think so. Before we sat down and I asked Gerard what he had actually played in the list, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance came up. Crash Team Racing was actually going to be next if that
Okay.
was doable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
if we can go with that. No, that has
Did-
footage for it.
I have not played Crash Team Racing. Did Brad play Crash Team Racing?
I played Crash Team Racing. I actually played it Sunday before the Xbox conference.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I've got clips in there from about 4 different tracks. I will say that this time around, my driving in particular is not great. The mechanics for power sliding in Crash Team Racing are very specific and very skill-based.
Yes, they are.
And when I did the previous preview, the first gameplay demo that they had at Activision, Kyle was very upfront with me. He's like, you need to buy the PS1 version on PS3 and play it and practice and get these mechanics down. And when I did that, yeah, we can play the whole file. I would just skip over some of the menu things. When I did that, I actually went in there and I did really well, and like I had this great like back and forth battle with one of the game directors.
Nice.
This time around with E3, I didn't have time to go and get a refresher, and so I was like, all right, I kind of know how this works, but the angles of it really didn't work out for me.
It looks really good.
Yeah, I really do enjoy the look
I'll
of it.
say it off the bat. Every time I've seen this, a lot of these I mean, it's not a PlayStation exclusive, but these games that were popular in the PlayStation days that are getting these remakes. You know, I'm thinking like Shadow of the Colossus, the most recent one that I played. This as well, like Spyro, also another one. Good
Looks
series.
like it runs really well
Yeah,
too, which helps.
like this conversion feels really good.
I think this is the same team who was one of the 2 teams that made the original Crash Bandicoot remakes.
Yeah,
with
this is
Activision.
Beanox, right?
Yeah, I think so. And this
Those look good too, though.
yeah. I mean, overall, this is, if you're a fan of the franchise, if you're a fan of the first Crash Team Racing, I really feel like this is pretty damn faithful to what you'd expect from those games. And you know, it's good to be a Crash fan right now. It's good to be a Spyro fan right now because you really feel the love and passion that the devs are putting into the game mechanically and especially visually. I mean, this looks way better than the original, and it's not even chugging. It's
Yeah.
smooth.
And I think one of the things that's really interesting about that is they've shown some side-by-sides earlier where the actual layout and dimensions of the track are pretty close to being one-to-one.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really about adding all of this extra like visual creative detail around the courses. But then they've added in a lot more courses. There's a lot more characters. There's all this extra stuff. Did you just play the game, or did you get the presentation with them?
I just played the game.
Okay.
I didn't get the presentation, unfortunately. I wish I did.
Yeah. So when I was in the behind closed doors, they had some things in there that they were talking about. There is this like a Grand Prix that they're going to be having. So it starts on July 3rd. So like
an online Grand Prix.
yeah, like a week or
cool.
so after
Okay.
launch. And that's actually introducing a new track with that as well.
Oh, that's
Wow.
a pretty cool way to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also have 5 new characters, and one of them, I think one of them is like a reward for getting through the Grand Prix. And so it's almost like they're not doing this a ton from the sound of it. They've got like 3 different ones or so planned out.
Yeah.
For the months ahead. But it's an interesting way of kind of keeping the game alive.
Yeah, they're adding new characters by participating in online things. It's like Mario Tennis Aces was doing that. I
Yeah.
think they just wrapped up adding their last character, or about to add their last character for that. But that was a pretty neat way to keep people involved
Have
with that.
individual skins for the characters.
Oh,
now.
Yeah,
wow.
there's a lot of skins, a ton of skins, a ton of cart
I
customization.
never
in
knew I
there.
wanted the little polar bear in a rain outfit. That's pretty good.
The second GP is going to have like a prehistoric thing in there. And the third one they were talking about having Spyro.
What?
Jumping in, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
now that
there
I
we
did
go.
hear about.
That's really
The
cool.
other thing that is okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll be all right. Thank you. I'm not great on this. The deluxe edition, which I think this game's cheaper anyway, so it's like
Yeah.
$40 game.
Yeah.
The deluxe edition comes with a lot of extra content that some of it I don't think that you can get otherwise. So I'm not really a fan of like splitting things up that way.
Yeah, the thing I'm most interested in about this game is the fact because I played this for that episode of Pop Fiction about.
Oh yeah, skip ahead, Ian. There's a couple of times where we have to like reset the track as well,
Okay.
so just look out for things like that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was like I was looking at that. That was pretty cool. The nitrous oxide thing about that giant boss character being playable and stuff, and then seeing in the pre-order, oh, like nitrous oxide gonna be. I was like, oh, okay, just like straight dropping it there, but getting to pick the brain of the Evan Wells, one of the co-founders of Naughty Dog, worked on this game. The shenanigans they had to do to get this game to run on PlayStation 1 using was it Action Replay at the time to boost the memory of their dev system. So and recreating one of a track of another famous kart game as a proof of concept. To see it come this far and look like this, that's going to be something else.
Yeah, and so this track here in particular. This is the one that gets introduced with the Grand Prix.
Okay.
Yeah. But the funny thing about that and the way these things are split up is the devs that were in the room just to like kind of guide us through the demo. He wasn't even clear on those details, like kind of the way things are split up for marketing. I asked him, this is the one for the Grand Prix, right? And he's like, let me go check on that. And he came back and confirmed.
For those of you who played it,
Ian, you can skip to the second clip in the next track.
For those of you who played it, how did it feel control-wise? Because I'm very like picky about kart racers. Obviously, I like most of the Mario Kart games. Sonic Racing, All Stars, I like that, but I don't like Team Sonic. I don't like how those handle. But you two being a little bit more familiar with this, like how do you feel it handles, especially compared to the original one? Do you think they improved it, or do you think it handles just well in general?
To me, when I did that first preview and I did that back to back, I felt like it really did an excellent job of capturing the way that game feels.
Yeah,
and the very particular controls.
It feels like you're playing a PS1 remaster.
Okay.
For better or for worse, mind you. Yeah, it feels as if you are literally just going ahead and, sticking to what you grew up with. And I think that was the intent, right? I think the goal is we want fans of this franchise to not only love it from what they had when they were kids, but to really remember, oh, this is how it used to be. And I think the game does that really well.
Nice.
Yeah, and so this course I think was probably one of my favorites. It's kind of reminds me of like the Wario Stadium or whatever.
Oh yeah, from Mario 64.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then we got this crazy shark character, and I think that's one of the weird things for me is like I'm not super familiar with Crash as a franchise, so a lot of these characters are entirely new to me, and so it's interesting just seeing how wild and creative they can get.
It's actually kind of funny because when you think about Crash Team Racing at this point, there's literally 3 Crash games. So like it's like Crash, his sister, the woman he loves, some of the animals, and then all of the villains as racers. So it's like there's not much.
You can go ahead to the final track if you go a little further in.
There's not too much to need to know when it comes to the Crash franchise for Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, so this is the last one I did, is these airships. And this was actually the hardest one. This one I'm like totally failing at because it's almost like an F-Zero course in the sense that there's not a lot of barriers. So if you get a power slide wrong, you'll just slide
You're
right
gone.
off the edge.
It reminds me a little bit of the Mario Kart 8 course, it's before Mario Kart. The one in the clouds and stuff. It was actually, I think, in Mario Kart 7 originally. The one with like up the beanstalk with the clouds, and the little lightning clouds, But no, I like tracks like that where you have a chance to fall off. It's just it's chaotic, but it also like really rewards you for like not slamming on gas the whole time. But also when you master it and you are able to like drift and like power boost through stuff without stopping, it just feels so good.
This track looks so good.
Yeah.
The colors.
So Damiani, I don't know if you can see, but when you're sliding, the way the mechanics work is you initiate the slide, and then there's this like meter that revs up on the lower
Yeah,
right.
I see it. Yeah.
And then so you're holding the power slide button, so like one shoulder button,
Okay.
and then you're basically gambling on how high this meter gets. So you want to hit the opposite shoulder button when it gets as close to the end of that meter as possible to make your boost stronger.
I saw multiplier at the end of that though, like a ×2.
Yeah, so I think that's telling you how powerful your boost is going to
Okay.
be. So you can play it safe and just like hit one and then the other
Pretty
when it
quickly
gets.
hit it again. Yeah.
But if you get it like really close to the end, then you can get a lot more boost, and then you can also chain up to 3 boosts that way. Whereas if you miss
okay.
it, then you would have to start a whole new power slide in order to get boosts again.
Gotcha.
A lot of the skill in this game comes down to knowing when to take that risk and knowing when to accept the risk. Like, this turn is harder than others, but if I go ahead and, take it in a bit more slow, I'm going to be just fine. Whereas if you're doing time trials, which are the worst, you really have to memorize the courses down. And I feel like that's the case with most games, but for Crash Team Racing specifically, it really comes down to managing your boost meters as best as you can.
Sorry, I just have to check a message from one of our other guests who might be showing up later.
Oh, sure.
Just double checking on that real quick. Sorry.
But yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this. So far, everything that we've played it's just been like this. It's just been single tracks. And the thing that when I did download the original game, like Kyle suggested, the thing I'm most interested in is going through this story mode and the hub world, and we've seen just pretty much 0 of that so far.
Well, and that's the thing about this game, right, is that originally when it came out, it was kind of rivaling that of Diddy Kong Racing, where like the
Yes.
narrative
Yeah.
story
Yes.
mode was such an important component of it, and so the fact that we've seen so little of it is kind of not worrisome, but they're really trying to keep a lid on it to make sure that when we
Right.
do see it, that,
And we're 2 weeks out now, maybe even less from when this game comes
I
out.
think it's next Friday,
a week from
actually.
this Friday,
Yeah,
yeah.
a week from 7 days from today.
Yeah, I need to email.
So I'm surprised that they didn't play the full version there. Just let you try anything you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I know you just name dropped Diddy Kong Racing. That's one other kart racer I'd love to see
Oh, man.
come back, especially after that renewed Nintendo Microsoft relationship with that
yeah.
Banjo and Smash.
Oh, man.
Everyone's talking about a new Banjo-Kazooie. You know what? Diddy Kong Racing. I'd like to see that come back. See a remaster of that would be excellent.
You know what's funny though? Both games have this like little kid tiger.
Yeah.
It's almost
It's
like the
Timber the
same
Tiger,
character in
yeah.
both games.
The rest of this month is just brutal. We have Cadence of Hyrule, which just came out. Judgment is next week. This is next week. Mario Maker 2 at the end of the month.
It's like developers and publishers, please respect E3.
Please respect these.
Respect, nah, I'm kidding. It's but it's good though. It's good to have this stuff.
Oh,
because
absolutely,
People
yeah.
always really clamoring once E3's done. It's like, all right, what's next?
Right.
It's like, yeah, well, here you go. You got plenty of games coming out in the next
Yep.
few weeks. It's gonna be good stuff.
I could be wrong in saying this too, but I feel like this year E3 overall was definitely I don't want to say an in-between year, but there was definitely a we'll see you in 2020 kind of thing.
Right.
Kind of similarly
Yes.
seen across
Yeah.
the board.
Yeah.
And not that's a bad thing, right? Not everyone can cough out a title every year, on all cylinders in any capacity.
The only show where I felt like that wasn't as much the case was the PC gaming show, where a lot of it was, hey, this is coming out later this year. But yeah, I agree. The rest of the conferences, it was definitely 2020.
I think one of the things to me, Gerard, as having been to a lot of these, is the public has thrown off the balance of everything so much.
Yeah.
And it was like weird because the last year or so, it was just like this flood of crowds. And I feel like this year, publishers have reacted to that in a very good way by having a limited number of games on the show floor and a much bigger presence in meeting rooms and booths. Like
Yeah.
I think I only had like 2 or 3 appointments that were on the show floor. So many of my appointments were in the
Behind
meeting
closed
rooms
doors.
or in the concourse hall, which is just like a big row of cubicles.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great stuff throughout all of that, but if you walk the floor, it looks like a ghost town.
Yeah.
So it's a really strange thing for them to try to find this balance. And I forget who the interview was with. I think it might be a GameSpot, but Phil Spencer was, kind of calling out Sony for not being there. It's like Sony needs to be at E3, or like makes everything really weird. But it's but I almost like I want to tweet back at him because it's like you guys are in another building. And like even though that's officially E3,
you can't really
Yeah,
say
that's so weird how
hurts
it
the
works out
floor
like
a
that.
lot.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah,
I'm the only one that played those first-party games because nobody else was going to leave the building, walk across the street, go through all these security hassles, and like you have to
Go
like
next to
walk
the
through a
dumb
parking garage to get
mixer
over
Yeah,
there.
thing.
it's annoying, and like I can understand it, but if it was getting overcrowded, like the exhibit halls were just like packed up, there's no more capacity. It's like, oh hey, we're gonna do your service. We're gonna rent out another venue right next to it so you could fill up with even more people. But that's not the case. People are pulling out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was weird seeing like signs, official E3 signs saying, "Don't forget the Mixer and Microsoft experience over at LA Live next door." And it's like, I wonder if it's like the E3, like they really need them. Like even though they're not in the location anymore, we got to play ball with them because we can't completely cut off that umbilical cord there.
Well, I think it's fascinating too, right? I mean, you guys were at E3 last year, I'm assuming, and you saw what little of Sony's stage was, right? It was essentially the
Yeah, there was
Spider-Man
actually a
show.
big open space.
And it was massive. Like that stage was so large and so long, and there was nothing on it. They were filming a show in the corner of the room, and they had a big like 60-foot wall of visuals that you just were like, well, I guess I'm gonna sit down here and rest my feet. And that's what you did all day when Sony had their booth. And when you think about Sony as it is right now, you know, how many times can they tease The Last of Us 2? How many times could they tease that new Sucker Punch,
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. So it's like, if those are the only games we've got, and Medieval, obviously. Medieval's been like up in the air with what they've been teasing us left and right, but they don't really have much in the first-party chambers to be showing off, and I really feel like that's kind of the point of having the big three there, is really showcasing what they are producing.